Hello, Chaplain Paul. Welcome to another one of my videos. I wanted to make a video explaining some of the situations, what's happening in American healthcare. There's a lot of different points of view. Everybody's looking at the situation from different angles. And while everybody's point of view may seem right, as a whole, there's a lot of, problems. First of all, healthcare is in levels, different levels. Like first you have like a hospital, and that would be like the penthouse, okay? Hospital, everything is going cool. You got your good service. People are coming in. You got good food, and you're basically getting good care in a hospital. And then you would have medical rehab, and that's you move there, and they help to do the physical therapy and help to transition you to go home. Then you have places that are care, like a care center. Care center would be what you would think most people think of as like a nursing home, where people are mobile, they're in wheelchairs, and they sit in a big rec room, or in a room where they eat, like a dining room. And they're basically mobile, and they're basically, they're sitting together, and they're knitting, crocheting, watching TV, playing cards, playing games. That'd be like a care center, or like a retirement center. And then you would have a nursing home. Nursing home is where patients are, bedridden, need 24-hour care. They're not as mobile. They're not able to move around as easily. That would be a nursing home care, and then you would have assisted living. Assisted living is just what it is. You have a husband and wife, or just one person living in an apartment in a community where you have medical staff on site, and if they have any needs, they go right, they make a phone call, and they go like almost like a resort, and they go and facilitate their needs. That would be a assisted living situation. What the deal is with our healthcare right now is that people are thinking, in order to protect the patients, they need to be isolated. In order to have the patients have a less likelihood of getting sick from coronavirus, we need to isolate them. All right? Problem is, isolation kills. Isolation kills mind, body, spirit, and soul. There's more people, I'm telling you right now, dying of isolation than of the coronavirus, because it just kills your hope, your spirits, and it's detrimental to people's mental health. So our healthcare providers, their solution is to separate, isolate, and medicate, because in the absence of loving care and spiritual care, that hands-on love that's needed, that hands-on compassion and help that's needed as part of the regimen of healing and of healthcare, then what happens is it opens the door to worry, doubt, fear, anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, negative attitudes, anger issues. And what do? I mean, in the facility that I'm now locked out of, along with all other clergy and volunteers, the solution was, hey, would you like to have a visit from Chaplain Paul? Then I would get a phone call, say, Chaplain Paul, could you go see this patient? She's having trouble with anxiety and having trouble with depression. And then I would go sit with the patient, or Pastor Ken would sit with the patient, or just a whole team of volunteers. They would come and sit, cheer that patient up. If they're a Christian, read the Bible with them, watch TV with them, cheer them up and get them back on a good footing mentally, get them in a positive state of mind, so that they don't need to be medicated. In the absence of that, in the absence of family coming in, sitting and calming patients down, that, like I said, it opens the door for worry, doubt, fear, anxiety, depression, and a whole list of other emotional problems that wreak havoc on a person's mental health, and they're medicated with psych meds and pharmaceuticals. Here's what happens. I'm a patient. Hey, nurse, I'm having a real hard time with depression and anxiety. I can't sleep at night. I'm awake, and I'm really having a hard time. Well, can Chaplain Paul please come and visit me? Oh, I'm sorry, Chaplain Paul's locked out. Well, can Pastor Ken come visit me? I'm sorry, they're locked. Can one of my family members please just come and sit with me and hold my hand? I'm sorry, they're locked out. So what are my options? Well, we could give you some Xanax or some Depakote or any other medications that will calm you down. And that's what they do. And they're medicated. And unfortunately, a lot of these poor people are medicated to such a degree where they just don't even realize what's going on. You know, that's what's happening. In American healthcare, right now, over 400,000 people die a year because of preventable medical mistakes. That's 400,000 people nationwide die a year because of preventable medical mistakes. That's in American hospitals alone. That doesn't include nursing homes, hospice, care centers, retirement centers. It doesn't assisted living, medical rehabs. It doesn't include all that. If you include that, those numbers could be up to around 800,000 people a year die because of a preventable medical mistake. A medical mistake that's totally preventable. And so, how do we lower those numbers? Because the family members come in and they hold staff accountable. Family members come in and make sure their loved ones are not eating foods that their loved ones are allergic to, or getting medication that they may be allergic to, or making sure that they're not getting certain things, certain procedures that might be detrimental to their health. I have a friend of mine. He was sick in the hospital. The doctor had put on the chart to give him a potassium shot. The nurse came in to give him a potassium shot. He told the nurse, "No, I don't think you should do that, nurse. I'm not supposed to have a potassium shot." She looked at the wall and said, "Well, no, the doctor says." But he said, "No, please go call the doctor to verify this, please." The nurse went and called the doctor, came back in and said she was sorry. If my friend had gotten a potassium shot, it would have killed him. Thank God he had the mental capacity to be able to watch what's going on and make sure that mistakes weren't happening. If he was unconscious, coma, semi-coma, had cognitive issues, dementia, Alzheimer's, and a whole list of other problems, mental problems, he might have just been laying there and that would have been it. He's done. Okay? So this is what I'm talking about. How many times was I with my mother and the doctors and staff made critical mistakes that if I didn't call them on it could have cost her her life. I'm sorry to tell you this, folks, but this is the truth. American healthcare may be the best on earth, but it's not infallible. It doesn't come without mistakes. And right now, look at the statistics. Google it. 400,000 people dying of preventable medical mistakes in hospitals alone. The numbers are higher of people dying of medical mistakes than coronavirus. People dying of loneliness and isolation than coronavirus. And you say, well, Paul, that's because we're not allowing people in. Okay, fair. That's a fair assumption. But the deal is that our elected officials were elected to protect our rights and our freedoms. They were elected to have the intellect to sit down with our healthcare providers and come up with a safe, fair, compassionate, moral pathway to visitation. One that should look like this. One family member screened, healthy. If they have to, have them get tested for the coronavirus. If they have to, quarantine them for a week before their visitation. They come in, they take the same precautions as the healthcare providers. They come in, they sit with their loved one for 2 days a week, 2 hours each time. 2 hours for 2 days can mean a world of difference for a patient's mental health, because now the patient has something to look forward to. The patient knows, my wife, my children, my husband's coming on Friday, today's Thursday, and now I have something to live for and something to look forward to. Right now there's no end game. Right now they don't have any hope because they don't know when this is all going to end. Some people are saying this might not end for another year. That does not do the patients no good for them to see this on the news, that this may drag on for a long length of time. Meanwhile, our elected officials and our healthcare providers are at least on the surface, are not formulating real workable visitation plans so that at least one healthy, screened family member could get in there. This is what's needed in American healthcare. This is what's needed right now. Family and clergy, they come in, they cheer up the patients, they lift them up spiritually, physically, emotionally. We help to create a peaceful atmosphere in the room and in these facilities. We cast out the powers of darkness. We pray for staff. We offer staff prayer. We offer family members prayer. We cheer the patients up. We watch out for their best interest. If a patient doesn't have family support, then their level of care drops significantly. Patients need hands-on care. A lot of patients do. Patients that are coma, semi-coma, on ventilators, patients that are blind, patients that have cognitive issues, patients that are paralyzed. They require family members to come in to help them. There's patients that are paralyzed, coma, semi-coma. The family members come in and they exercise their arms manually. They exercise their legs manually. Staff can't do that all the time. They schedule in these things. They may come in for a few minutes at a time a day, but the more exercise a patient gets, the more better it is for their health. Otherwise, they stiffen up like a ball. Family members, clergy, we're watching out for the best interests of the patient. Patients can get bug bites, yes, bug bites, ant bites, spider bites, different insects. They could get mosquito bites that they could have an allergic reaction to. Seeing this quickly and reporting it quickly could be the difference between life and death. Making sure there's no bed sores, rashes. Family members, they help with the hygiene of their loved ones. They help to make their loved ones feel comforted and loved. They're holding their loved ones' hands. They're talking to them. Someone that's coma, semi-coma, how many times I sat bedside and read my poems, my Bibles to them. I read the Bible to them, or my poems or stories, because they can feel it. They can feel our love. They feel our presence. Now, if someone has a broken leg or a broken arm, and they're in the hospital or for a simple procedure, they don't need in-house visits. Their stay is going to be relatively short, and they don't need in-house visits. They can use a tablet or other devices to have video visits online or with what do they call them? iPads. Whatever devices they use, they can use video. That's great. So we're not saying that every patient needs to have a family member in there. We're talking about critical patients who have certain needs, hands-on family care. They're the ones that need to be in there. The other people, your brother had his tonsils out. Well, I'm sure your brother could be okay without family visits. So-and-so broke his leg, broke his arm, or is in there because of other issues that aren't as serious. They'll be fine if they have the cognitivity to be able to visit and view their loved ones online. Okay, we're talking about people that it's critical that family members are in there because they don't have the mental capacity or the ability to be able to make proper medical decisions for themselves, nor do they have the ability to make sure that mistakes aren't being made. That's what our job is. Patients, they ask for certain things. I go and get it for them. Otherwise, they sit and wait. Patient wants to see the social worker on a Friday. Oh, that's great. You're going to see the social worker. That's great. I come back on Tuesday. The social worker hasn't even shown up. I go and get her. I bring her into the room. Other needs that you would think would be right away and facilitated right away. These poor patients are waiting hours and days because they need us in there. They need us to be able to hold the staff accountable. They need us to make sure they're getting proper medical care. They need us in there for our love and compassion that only we can give them. We are essential. To my elected officials out there, listen to me. Do your job. Okay, we didn't elect you to pass the buck. We didn't elect you to take the easy road out. We elected you to come up with complex. We elected you to come